Hi, ladies and dudes. This is Rebecca Lynn Barkley, aka Boobop 1970. This is my review for a day. And today's review, ladies and dudes, well, my friends, it's that time again for another movie review. And I will do this movie review in a two-part event. For part one, I will explain to you about the main plot of the story and my strongest and my weakest points of the film. And as for part two, it will be my main thoughts of the characters and my main thoughts of the movie. Well, my final thoughts of the film, if you know what I mean. So anyway, ladies and dudes, I guess you want to know is, what is my next movie review? Well, for my next movie review, I will do is the one of the most greatest, darkest fantasy movies of all time that was based off by a fairy tale. And this fairy tale is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And sadly, no, ladies and dudes, this is not the movie review I'm going to do for today. And yes, we already know about the legendary fairy tale story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You know, a story about a young girl named Snow White who's the fairest one of them all. We got an evil queen who is freaking jealous of her because of her grace and beauty, and she has a pure heart. She wants to get rid of her for good. Snow White runs away from home and started to become like a mother figure or sister figure to all seven memorable and the most cutest little dwarves that you'll ever see in your whole entire life. Yeah, that's what Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is all about. But for all the directors, producers, and the screenwriters, they decided to do a brand new story that nobody had never seen before. And this is the movie review I really want to do for today. So for my next movie review is Snow White and the Huntsman. And to tell you the truth is, ladies and dudes, yes, this is one of the best films that ever came out in the year of 2012. But one of the most underrated movies that ever came out in the year of 2012. And yes, ladies and dudes, I will admit to you right now that this is the last and final movie that we have ever seen from our dear beloved British actor named Bob Hoskins. And Bob Hoskins did a fantastic job with his last and final performance of this great underrated film. And yeah, ladies and dudes, it's a near masterpiece film. You guys gotta check out this movie right now so we can remember Bob Hoskins and his performance of that elderly dwarf. And I will tell you that at part two, if you know what I mean. So anyway, without further ado, ladies and dudes, let's head on to my next movie review of Snow White and the Huntsman, one of the most darkest and most greatest fantasy films of all time. And truly, it's a pretty darn underrated one. So let's get right to the main plot of the story. And I have nothing to say about the main plot of the story, but I'll make this short and quick. It's a story about a young woman named Snow White who had finally escaped her own kingdom because there was an evil queen who ruled over the kingdom for way too long, and she needs to get out of there as quick as she can to find some help and find some good people out there who hate the queen so much, and they just don't like her for taking over the whole entire world for way too long. That's full of grief, sorrow, and the wrath of darkness. And this is where Snow White is going on her most epic journey of her life, where she could discover some brand new things that she had never discovered before for the rest of her life, that is outside into the palace walls, if you know what I mean. And also, Snow White has some really good allies and friends to help her out on her journey. We got a cool looking huntsman who has a big giant axe, or just a normal axe, or whatever you could say about his axe. We got these cool looking 8 dwarves. 2 of them are friendly, a few of them are okay. Some of them are kind of mad if you guys get the picture. And the last and final ally she has is Snow White's childhood friend that she knew for a pretty long time, and this guy knows how to use a bow and arrow so darn well. And this is one epic journey that Snow White will never forget, of going on to the most epic adventure of her life that involves courage, friendship, loyalty, responsibility, and try to stop an evil queen who had taken over her kingdom for way too long after when she had lost her dad. So anyway, ladies and dudes, that's my whole entire plot of Snow White and the Huntsman. Hold on, I gotta get a little more here. Alright. That's better. Okay, everybody, I guess everybody wants to know is, what the heck do I think about Snow White and the Huntsman? Well, to tell you the truth is, ladies and dudes, I really do love this movie. I will say this is one of the best epic movies that I have ever seen in my whole entire life that features a really good dark and fantasy film. I will say it had a very interesting storyline. The characters are likable. It has great memorable sceneries and highlights of the film. There was one epic scene that I fell in love in this movie that truly blew me away. It had a very interesting score, great costume designs, fantastic special effects, and so on and so forth. But sadly, there's only two main weak points that I found in this movie that is so darn bad. Yeah, if you know what I mean. So anyway, ladies and dudes, let's head on to my strongest points and the weakest points of Snow White and the Huntsman. So I will say for my strongest points for this movie is a tie. Just a tie between the special effects and one of the best memorable scenes that I will never forget in movie history. For my first strongest point in the movie has to go to the special effects. I love the special effects. It was pretty well done. It was pretty well fast-paced. It has so many good memorable scenes that you will never forget in movie history that involve special effects. I like those evil night guards that is made out of shards. We got this weird looking dude who's known as some type of mirror on the wall. This weird dude who has golden cape talking to that queen. That's kind of interesting. I love the forest scene that happened in this movie, like those cool looking animals and the creatures that are so darn different. And there's a cool looking troll that's so big and giant like. There is really cool, amazing special effects that did happen in this movie, and I love every single moment of it. So yeah, the special effects is the first best, strongest point in the movie, and for the second strongest point in the movie has to go to the forest scene. I love every single moment that happened in the forest scene. And don't get me wrong, do you think that the forest scene kind of reminds you of Princess Mononoke? There's some stuff I notice about this scene here and there that kind of reminds me of Princess Mononoke. One is those cute little naked creatures that has those pointy ears, and the other is that cool looking white deer that has lots of horns in its head. I mean, that scene really did blow me away. I'll never forget that most beautiful moment that happened in this movie where Snow White had a really strong connection on that beautiful white deer. It was so darn beautiful, it was so darn memorable, and it will truly blow you away. And yeah, Bob Hoskins said a couple of good dialogues that happened in that scene, where he finally found out the truth that Snow White is truly the one. She is the world's last hope to save mankind from the wrath of evil. And it's pretty darn tear-jerking. Yeah, check out that memorable forest scene to believe it. It will truly blow you away. And speaking of that forest scene, I forgot to mention it on my top 10 best memorable movie scenes of all time. But sadly, I'll put it as an honorable mention. So anyway, for my strongest points of the film, it's the special effects and the forest scene. And sadly, ladies and dudes, I got two main weak points of this movie. And these two main weak points of this movie is not that great. Not really the best. So anyway, let's head on to my two main weakest points of the film. For one important scene of this movie that I really don't like is when the evil queen is acting like a spoiled brat. I mean it, folks. There was a part where the evil queen is acting like a spoiled brat. She was being so bratty in this movie. Even the part where she had that argument with her brother. I mean, they had a really tough fight, if you know what I mean. And I remember she was pacing around the fireplace, here and there, and she yelled and screamed, and she was just angry at her brother for what had happened. You know, the part where Snow White had escaped from the castle and tried to get away from there as quick as she can, and her brother had no idea where she is. Yeah, I don't like the part where the queen was acting like a brat in that film. So yep, seeing the queen being a spoiled brat is my first main weak point in the movie. And my second main weak point in the movie is the 6 dwarves. I just can't tell who's who. Well, I'll tell you the truth is, I studied these memorable dwarves in the Disney version because those dwarves are so darn likable and memorable I have ever seen in a Disney film. But as for Snow White and the Huntsman, there were only 2 good memorable dwarves I did enjoy the movie that were so darn likable, and they're the most sweetest dwarves that you'll ever see in your life. But as for the other 6, let's go hit and miss. I just can't tell who's who for, you know, the personalities and attitudes of these dwarves. Like, which one of them is grumpy, which one of them is sneezy, which one of them is dopey, which one of them is happy, and the other one, sleepy? Let's see, we got happy, sleepy, sneezy, dopey, and grumpy. I just can't tell which one of these dwarves is, you know, one of these characters that came from the Disney film, but all I remembered, the only ones who got it right for this movie is one for Doc and one for Bashful. Yeah, so I have trouble which dwarf is who's who. You know, from their own personalities and attitudes, but I know all of them are kind of mad in so many ways. Hard for me to say. So for my 2 major weak points in the movie is there's one point where the queen is being a spoiled brat, and the other I had trouble with the dwarves from their own personalities and attitudes. So that's it for part 1, and join me for part 2 as I explain to you all about the 5 characters I do enjoy this movie and my final thoughts of the film. So, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'll be right there.